Happy Christmas and welcome to another Over to Harlan's video. Don't know what we're working on tonight, but that low car pedal finally came for the 55, so probably that. But the important thing is, you can see he's been, remember this was just blasted, the 78, and he's been getting it all primed up so that it doesn't rust. And you can see he's been working underneath too because he's got that pit. Yeah, that's really come a long way. Getting a seam sealer on there. Getting her all ready for final body work. Remember, she's getting full quarters in the back. And he's got that tail pan for the back. So, yeah. And then he's just got... That's the only spot on the floor right over there. That was the only one. And we think that was probably the leaky heater core. So, yeah. Surprises. After a bazillion years, that's that fancy throttle that we were looking for. We want this because we don't have the mounting points in the 55 anymore. So we're going to use these, and then we did get that spacer block a million years ago. So we're going to use that to kind of push it out a little bit. But this is going to work a whole lot nicer. I just noticed that I'm not zoomed in. That's okay. So we're just going to play with it and figure out where it needs to go. Okay, we are now looking at one of our biggest problems. Is where, because of the dishing here, you can see I've got to get it so that the cable wants to line up in a spot that we can actually attach to, but that the pedal lines up in a spot that makes sense. So obviously the closer I can get the clevis to this rod, the better. We just realistically can't. So if I take all of that, well, I'll just pretend that part and say that was right there. That's a good spot. Okay, I'm going to pop that off so I can get in here a little easier. What I think we're going to try to do is, you can see, maybe you can see, this is really sharp here, but it does kind of ease out a little. So I might be able to get something straight back in there that will work out. Because what would be awesome, in fact I've got it popped out, is he's got this hole that I don't know what it's for. But it sure would be a handy thing for us to use if we could. So we're going to take a look. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use that hole location. We're going to drill and get the cable mounted and base the... Looks like we can kind of work the pedal right into that. It's going to be a little close, but I think we can do it based on previous experience with these cables. I've put some pretty horrendous bends on them on other projects, so they're pretty tough. Okay, so that's where the clevis is going to be. You can see it's tight down there, and honestly we're going to be pushing our length. But let me get the other end on there, and let's see how that's going to look. It reaches, and honestly, it's not under any stress. It's not too short. I'm not going to do this until everything is done because you only get really one shot. But I think that's going to work out pretty nice. And you can see, even with that nasty bend down there, this is real easy to slide. As I said, these low car cables are expensive for a reason. You know, they are pretty well made. So yeah, we're going to continue working on that. But my little screwdriver went flying, and now I got to find it. And we don't know where it is. But I didn't hear it hit the floor. No, it looks like it's so easy to get in there and turn those two screws. But it just isn't. You can't fit your hand here, there. You got all that there. So sometimes you got to bust out a real man screwdriver. This thing worked great. So there's a handy little trip. Keep some 2.5 foot, 3 foot screwdrivers on hand, and you can reach crazy things. Okay, so there she is sitting, and Arlen's in the way. So I will floor, release, floor, release. So we now have throttle. Okay. That could have been a lot worse. It could have been a lot better. But we have finally dealt with losing our throttle mounting point. and that's going to work out. All right, the next thing we're taking a peek at is adding this sway bar, and the kit makes no sense. And then these, you can see it's got a score there and a score there. Well, they don't go through, and there's no way you're sliding that over that bar. So we're going to have to cut them, but which side and with what? We're going to have to figure that out as well. Picking it up now, we figured out where we need everything to be with it loaded, and had a jack helping us hold everything. So now we got to take it up and locate our holes and figure out how we're going to get those U-bolts in, because the frame is boxed right there. So I'll show you that in just a second. I just want this up at a height where I can see to drill some holes. You'll notice this lift goes up a little faster than mine. So, from this point, and click, okay. From here, when you look, you can see that we've got this channel coming and this channel coming. Well, we've got to drill holes here. So, those will wind up passing up through one hole with a nut already on it, going around. So we will get those located and get that sorted out. How bad can it be? Okay, so here's the craziness. We now know we're going to be here and we're going to be there. So let's go ahead, and then I'm going to take that guy and figure out exactly where the holes have to be. And then we've got to drill the two holes, slide one up in, let it fall back out, and then we go. All right, so this is how this works. You can kind of see it. See it right there. So that's how that's going to allow us to bolt that up. So we'll go ahead and drill that one out and get it ready, and we'll keep moving. Okay, so now we're just going to zap those guys up real quick and then build our end links, and I think we're going to have a sway bar. Okay. So we haven't finished tightening those, and of course we can't even start tightening these with the other bushing yet until we're down, and then I usually take a big clamp and kind of hold them down, because these polys, they don't like to start at first, but they will. We're going to put the car back down on some weight though. And I know it looks like it only took a second, but I'm sure you see the shrapnel. This one did, well, that one was hard. This one was really hard. These are always a nightmare, and the bolts are never quite as long as they could be, but with the polys particularly. So we had some wood stacked up and set the weight of the car down on it to get them lined up so that you could grab just a thread and get it going. Well, our first attempt on this side blew that 2x4 to shreds. So we did get it. Always a pain, but you know, it's got to transfer that torque from side to side, so they just are what they are. This looks a little nicer. Sooner or later, we're going to have to actually go about monkeying with ride height. You know, way back 100 years ago when we put this frame together, that was not on our list of things we were too worried about. So we've come a little ways. Most likely going to want to raise her up a little bit. She's down, but she's low. So luckily with those coilovers, that's not that hard. But you can see she's pretty low. On the same side though, you'll see that our lower control arms are almost parallel with the road. So that's not too bad there. Pretty happy. We're nowhere close to any bump stops on either end. Now we don't have all of the weight in here, but we have a big chunk of it right there. So yeah, this is going to be something. Well, at this point, we're calling this Christmas, because Christmas is in a couple days, and it's freaking cold outside. But man, we're getting pretty stoked. It's starting to do stuff. We're getting pretty happy about it. Hopefully those seats ship next month. Summit's already said, hey, we don't have these, and you know, you sure you still want them? So you know how that goes. Nobody's ever shipping anything lately. But look at that. It's looking pretty nice. And remember, Even Shopwrecks needs to pay attention to what he's doing.